This conference will now be recorded.
Okay.
Welcome to the December 16th, 2021 Clatsop County Comprehensive Plan Update for Lewis and Clark Olney Wallooskee Planning Area Citizen Advisory Committee.
Okay, it is 6:06 and we're called to order. Do people want to introduce themselves real quickly?
Tiffany Hall, I guess I'm the vice
Vice Chair.
chair.
Yes.
Pat O'Grady.
Pat O'Grady. I see Dawn Abing. Let's see. Jim Nikas. And I believe Commissioner Webb is attempting to join us.
Yeah, she just popped off.
And I'm Julia Decker. And we are also assisted by Director Gail Henriksen.
I'm sorry, did you hear me, Julia?
I hear you now, Dawn.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so there we have introductions. Tiffany, did you want to check and see how we're doing? We do have a set of minutes there from January 28th.
Yes, I went through the minutes and read through them and they looked fine to me. Did anyone else get the chance to read through them? Jim, your mic is unmuted, but we do not hear you.
Jim, can you use the chat box? So Dawn or Pat, were either of you able to look at the minutes?
Yes, I was. I went through that. Getting was pretty good at this point.
Yeah,
Okay.
the minutes are fine from the
Okay.
28th.
Okay, thank you. So Tiffany, do you want a motion and a second, or do you want to just accept by consensus?
Now say that again.
Somebody could make a motion to approve the minutes. Somebody could second it. You could vote, or you could just approve by consensus, or just, basically everybody agrees.
Everybody, I believe everybody agrees, at least from those who have spoken up.
Okay. So minutes approved by consensus.
Sorry, I was just typing a chat to Jim to see if he could respond to that. Is there any public comment or input? Do we have anyone from the public?
I don't see anyone. I think it's just you all.
Okay. So the next item is review of draft Lewis and Clark Olney Wallooskee Community Plan. And that was the document that you sent to us that has all the highlighted marks on it. Is that correct?
That is correct. And you all had not made it completely through the document at the third meeting, and of course the fourth meeting was on a weird day, and I don't know, I guess everybody kind of lost it, so we didn't have that fourth meeting for you to look at the rest of the document. I've made some changes since then, And then I had some things to add to it. I sent a memo out yesterday afternoon because I started getting some information back in from the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife, from the assistant biologist Mike Sinnott, and then also from the Youngs River Lewis and Clark Water District and Sanitary District, from the superintendent Carl Gifford. So I had in that memo sent out some materials, some information for you to see if those were things that you might be interested in adding to this community plan, if you felt they had merit. And I don't know if everybody has the memo in front of them or not, but I did send it out yesterday afternoon.
I did read the memo and I thought it it's not the same one. I thought it was useful because I in the plan we did have conversations about whether or not there was enough water to supply a growth in population, and I think this memo talks about that. Is that correct?
Yes. Um, on the water district capacity, they are updating their new master plan. They were thinking they would have it in the next 2 or 3 months. So anyway, they've been working with a hydrologist, and the district does not have a hard cutoff on services yet, but when they get the new master plan, that will include a hard cutoff. So we don't actually have that information yet. He said the average growth in the area has been about 10 new water services annually, which isn't huge, but
Mhm.
anyway, he did also say the challenge is finding a new water supply to sustain future growth, and the master plan is going to address those concerns. So really, we're coming at this not having all of the information from them, because the water district doesn't have all the information themselves. They're looking at their priority is, considering future demand and the allocations, securing funds for upgrading and enhancement of the treatment facility. So that's what they're planning for. So the master plan, I mean, you could tell me that you would like, once that comes out, for that to kind of be wrapped a little bit into the information about the sanitary district and the water district. And as long as we're talking about the sanitary district, they have 424 services now, 424 connections. The district was designed for full build out of the properties within its boundaries. It did not account for annexation of additional area outside, which was information that I needed.
Yeah.
The average daily is 36,000 gallons, and the district can handle an excess of 80,000 gallons a day easily, he said. So he thought they had plenty of room on the sanitary district side to grow. And they get about 3 new services annually. But their challenges are the inflow intrusion into the area with the like everything from groundwater, rainwater getting into the system, poor plumbing, gutters and drains connected into the system, using it like a stormwater drain. So anyway, they have implemented a telemetry system to monitor flows from each house and limit the amount of inflow and intrusion to the greatest that they can. They have roughly a third of the district on the telemetry system currently, and they plan to expand that. So they are working on their challenges, but again, we'll have more information once they get their master plan back. And if you'd like, then because this plan is going to be reviewed after you guys are finished with it this evening, the next time I think we're going to see this is, let's see, this evening is final for you.
Mhm.
I think it's going to go to the Board of Commissioners in February, and the Planning Commission in March, and then we'll do first reading clear into July. So the master plan will be done, and so it would be possible probably in the comment period and in some of these drafts that are going to be coming up to include information from the master plan, to wrap it in there if the committee is agreeable to that.
I am.
I also wanted to just draw your attention to the information that came in from Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife Assistant Biologist Mike Sinnott. Um, he said he has not heard much about Spartina in Young's Bay. I also managed to locate a bulletin from the Oregon Department of Agriculture, or no, pardon me, the USDA, U.S. Department of Agriculture, and there it is. In fact, Gail has it right there. They consider Spartina to be an invasive species, and they are on a mission to eradicate it in Oregon. It's also called smooth cordgrass, and it was apparently introduced into the area as packing for oysters. It was used to pack oysters that were being shipped out, and there's a terrible infestation apparently in Willapa Bay, but that's on the Washington side. So anyway, they are on a mission to eradicate it. The telephone number that they gave up at the top there is the number that you should call to report it if you see it. Um, anyway, Mr. Sinnott seemed to think that it was, if not completely eradicated in Young's Bay, then close. Um, so, and he also agreed that it's invasive and detrimental to the estuary mudflats. So anyway, I've got another person to contact about it, but I wondered if you wanted me to kind of uh, go ahead and wrap some of that information into the part about the Spartina that Mr. Abing mentioned earlier in, I think in meeting number 2. Also,
Yes,
oh,
I'm going to be definitely opposed to the idea of negating Spartina. It needs to be addressed.
okay, so
It's just terrible out there. I
so
don't know why it's being diminished by governmental authorities, but it just keeps growing and growing and growing, and it's just devastating the biomass.
So what I can do then is put in the information that we have about the fact that it is an invasive species, and we have basically USDA has at least issued a bulletin that suggests their commitment to eradicating it, and there is the telephone number there about the Spartina. But I can write something about that and just say that, you know, we have anecdotal information that it is still a problem in the bay. And so if you'd like, I can include that.
Please do.
Okay. The other thing I was thinking I might do is if I have a nice enough day out here anytime soon, I would just go ahead and go take a picture of the bay and include the beautiful Spartina out there. Just
I know, it
have
makes me want to go out and kayak and do that.
Yes. We will be needing pictures, and so anyway, we could add pictures of it, and that would kind of put a little bit of a spin on it. I just want to say that Jim has indicated he has no microphone and no phone, and it is a conspiracy to shut him up. And Jim, it is not a conspiracy because we have no control over you not having a phone or a microphone, but you do have that chat box, so please use it. Let's see, what else did I have? Oh, there are no commercial fisheries for trout. Cutthroat trout and steelhead are present in Young's Bay, but there are no commercial fisheries for either of them. The major commercial fisheries in Young's Bay are Chinook salmon, spring and fall runs, and coho salmon. Mr. Sinnott said the wild runs of salmon persist at low levels, but they are not extinct, but they are persisting. Wild Chinook, coho, and wild steelhead persist and the basin in the bay and the estuaries, the basins that feed it. Some of the species are endangered. They're listed as ESA as threatened, and there are recovery efforts underway statewide. And then he indicated that Young's Bay does have several hatchery releases of Chinook, Coho, and Steelhead, which exist to support fisheries. And of course, we do have a section in the plan already, I think, regarding the CEDC Fisheries Project, or pardon me, the Clatsop County Fisheries Project. It used to be the CEDC Fisheries Project. That's when I first moved here, it was that. And then in general, we were talking about water quality in the estuaries, including Youngs Bay, which he said is degraded by both point and non-point solutions of pollution, point sources of pollution, both within the estuary and its contributing watershed. And he said that the sources are runoff from residential, agricultural, and forest lands, failing septic systems, animal waste, and storm events. In addition, we have increased water temperature as a result of altered freshwater inputs and removal of riparian vegetation. So if the committee is agreeable, I would add those elements as well into the section regarding Youngs Bay and water quality.
I agree.
I agree.
Yep, so
Okay, so I have three of you. Jim, what about you?
Jim, you could type it in there and then comments.
He'll probably call me tomorrow and tell me. So that was the memo, the things I was looking to add via the memo. Then we were also looking, let's see, did the committee have anything else that you wanted to make sure made it in there?
From this?
In the plan itself, I put in as many of the points that you made. A couple of them I did not put in because I've submitted them to the larger group, because there for example, the comment about using some sort of a web-based way to generate public input was something that Jim had mentioned, and I actually forwarded that to Gail for something to be put into goal 1 for the overall, for everything. So it isn't into this group's community plan specifically, it's into the larger comprehensive plan, for example. But I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything. So I'm looking to you guys to tell me if I missed something. I had sent you your proposed goals and policies, the things that had come out of your meetings previously, and I just wanted to make sure that that doesn't trigger anything and cause people to say, oh, you know what else, we've missed that, or we should have said that. So I'm just looking to make sure that I have in there everything that you need, and that I can add these things that might come in later, and just I guess basically get your approval or your comments or both.
Pat, I'd like to make a comment on the Youngs River Water District, if I could, please.
Yes.
I talked to them about 2 or 3 months ago, and for them to expand any more for more water, they would have to pipe in 5 miles of pipe from their water tower at Youngs River Falls there. And there's access right there at Youngs River Falls, except the city of Astoria owns that. And it would be nice for the Clatsop County to facilitate that into helping, hopefully, the Youngs River Water District to access that water right there, instead of spending X amount of dollars to pipe in up river there to get into their spot. And I'd like to see something like that happen with the water district.
Okay, so Pat, Gail is typing, and she's got district would need to pipe 5 miles unless water rights could be obtained from the city of Astoria. Does that cover what you were saying?
Yeah, the Youngs River Water District would need to pipe in 5 miles of pipe from their tower there at Youngs River to access any more water, because we cannot get the okay from the city of Astoria to tap into Youngs River Falls. And the city of Astoria has plenty and more than enough water up at their 3 reservoirs.
Okay, so she's augmenting that to say to tap into Young's River Falls, the city of Astoria has capacity in its reservoir, and this could occur. So having to pipe water will increase costs for the water district.
Correct. Yes.
Okay,
I think you also left out the word under the paragraph of capacity. I think it's supposed to say the district does not have a hard cutoff on services yet.
not yet. No, they will, but they do not have
What,
one correct yet.
no, what I'm
So
saying is you don't have the word have in there.
okay,
You see it? Yeah.
does not have. Okay, I see where it's missing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that came in yesterday, and so I was kind of like trying to type it before I left yesterday evening. I got a little bit carried away. I see. Okay. What else? Anyone? What else?
Um,
Julia,
Yes.
did you want to get the Chinookan side of um, Wallooska or Wallooskee?
Yes.
Okay. That the Clatsop Chinook name should be spelled capital WAHLOOSKAWA. Waloos.
KAWA.
Yeah, Wallooskawa.
Okay.
Wallooskawa. Now he's like Columbia, a headman, not necessarily a chief. I don't believe he was a signatory on the 1851-52 treaty, but he was a significant figure, and he did have a village site. And unfortunately, it's destroyed except for one portion of there is an extended fishing camp or processing area, not really a camp, but a process area where they were processing fish there on the lower Wallooskawa. And I think it's still in county's ownership, but I'm not sure. I have to do more research. But that's the headman's name, and it's basically the kawa is like the a way of saying braided water. The Wallooskawa was a huge braided system that fed Young's Bay, and it was really high producing chum and coho fishery. I'm sure fall Chinook too, but predominantly chum and coho fishery. And the braided water system allowed for really great harvesting potential. And most of his village site was pretty much bulldozed over when they, well, I don't know if I should, the county park system, yeah, county fairgrounds. Was put in.
Was that now down by the water?
What? No, the Wallooskee Loop Road there.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be below the Wallooskee Loop Road. It's all diked. Well, that was all that diked area was braided water.
And you're saying braided, BRAIDED?
Yeah, like your braided hair,
Okay, got it.
like braided hair.
Okay.
It didn't just flow out like they have had it done. I understand that there's been some some work to reconstitute some of the braiding there, but it's about a tenth of what was actually there. It's just a complementary braiding. It really, to have been effective as it was, it would have to be, all that diked area would have to be reverted back to braided water system, backwater system, something like that. Parcel of land there below, just below it on Highway 202 that the Cowleets Indians purchased and had the dikes removed and
Mm-hmm. Okay. I think I know
had
exactly
it
what you
flooded.
mean.
Yeah,
Right. Yes. Okay.
I'm really sorry. I know the remnants of that one particular spot, but I've been asked by Culture Committee not to reveal it for the sake, as it's not protected.
Okay.
And until we get our federal recognition, I really need to be protective of that area.
That's fine. You don't need
I'm
to.
really sorry about that, but they gave me
No,
marching orders.
no, that's fine. I wouldn't want you to.
So what are we going to do with Walluski? I mean, I see it pop up in some of the narratives and maybe even sneak in a policy or two, but I thought that was, we were gonna try and formalize the change to the true naming of the place, of the river.
Well, so then the spelling that you've given to me, and Dawn, I want to verify that this is all one word. It's not two. It's Wallooskawa, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So
Well,
I
like Hawaii, Wallooskawa. That was his
okay.
name.
So probably
I know that there's a historical fact that they just made it Wallooska, but it's actually, there's a WA at the end for the river.
so Gail has entered some text into the uh, document on this screen, and what she's written is the correct spelling, and she's entered this statement. There was processing in the area in the lower, and she's spelling it out the way you did. Um, and it may still be in county ownership. New research is needed. The river fed Youngs Bay and was a high-producing chum and coho fishery. Most of the village site was bulldozed when the county fairgrounds were constructed. She's got something in there about the braided water system, and work is being done to reconstitute some of the braiding, but it is less than 10% of what was there. So what I can do is probably turn that into a little bit of a paragraph with the correct spelling, the Clatsop Chinookan spelling, and just enter that as sort of like a special sidebar or side note. And if it's all right with you, I would give you credit for where the statement comes from. We probably have to continue, I'm thinking, to use the names that appear on maps at this time in the spelling that is that you're seeing appearing in the documents. But we would want to make a statement that, these are versions of the correct name, that they've been, anglicized. I don't really know what else to say. And so they've been adopted into formal documents, including these documents, but also mapping and USGS quads and all kinds of things. So I'm guessing that we probably need to continue to use those names until there is a larger correction, but we certainly want to include a statement about this is who this person was, this is how his name was spelled, this is what this area and all these things, this rivers, this neighborhood, all of this is named after this person whose name, according to what you've provided, it should have been spelled this way. Is that acceptable?
Yes, it is. Thank you. I understand. It's like the situation with the Skippanon. It's actually the Skipperniwan, but
Exactly.
you know, what are you going to do? It just got shortened and Norwegianized, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, the Scandinavian ancestors I had did a lot of, they talk differently too.
Yeah.
So Tiffany, what do you want to ask the rest of the committee their feelings on the topic?
How does everyone feel about, what did you say, how you're going to put that in?
I'm going to put it in like a sidebar, like you might see a special feature in a newspaper or a magazine, and I'm going to attribute it to Don and kind of explain, what he's explained so that we have this historical context, and then probably also note that the other spellings that you are seeing in the document currently are the adopted spellings by various different entities. And so when I'm using the spelling over here to refer to a river, for example, I'm using this spelling that's coming out of a GIS system that's adopted this way, and which we would, I guess, continue to use until, finally things are corrected at some point down the road.
I agree. How does everyone else feel?
I agree with that too.
I think it's important to have that history in there.
Okay. Jim, we still can't hear you. Did you want to provide anything in the chat? I'm not sure. He's probably listening and telling me all kinds of things, and I can't hear him and I can't see anything in the chat box. So
Yeah, there's nothing in the chat right now.
okay, so I have a consensus of the three of you whom I can hear. Okay.
Yes, consensus for who has spoken up.
Okay.
Other areas, I read through all of it and it looks I don't see anything that really stands out.
I do have on page 10 or 12, excuse me, Tiffany and Julia, on page 12, there's a word used in there. It says moderate use for bird activity.
Oh,
And
yeah.
moderate would be improper. We have huge flocks of Canada geese that utilize the area. And in that, in those 5 species, the dusky Canada geese is still a threatened or endangered, or actually still in dire straits. Its populations. It's a much smaller goose. And followed by that are obviously the raptors, who are going to be feeding on their young. And so I wouldn't use the word moderate. It's too
Oh, I think I see it.
casual.
Oh no, that's not. That's on the shoreline erosion.
I
We're looking
remember
for it.
that I don't see on this page.
Yeah, it said page 12.
Oh, yeah, it is. It's right. It's in the bottom left hand of page 7. Well, yeah, it's on page 7, but it's 12.
Oh,
12 on the document, but it's actually page 7, right towards the bottom right there. And then it's going to be on that second paragraph at the bottom. And it says right above the major humans, it's just right above that.
yeah, bird use of the river and marshes for feeding and nesting is, no, it's not.
Okay, so we'll
It's heavy.
delete moderate.
It's heavy. The Canada geese really depend on that now.
Okay, so okay,
All 5
bird use
species.
river. Okay, so I could say bird use of the river and marshes for feeding and nesting is heavy, especially by Canada geese.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Followed by the raptors, bald eagle, falcons and hawks.
Okay. Okay. So it's about 20 minutes to 7 here. Got about
Okay.
another half hour, 45 minutes or so.
Under fish and wildlife, there is a misspelling of anadromous.
Oh, that's not impossible at all.
Yeah, it's, and then anyway.
So check spelling. I should probably check that spelling throughout the document.
There it is. On page 18, there's a phrase saying something about none of the birds or animals, and it really should be upland birds if you're referring to grouse, mountain quail, and pigeons and such. So it's,
Okay.
the word upland should be included in the word birds to support that statement about grouse and stuff.
And I think you're referring to page 13.
Okay, I have to tell you that the stuff that is in turquoise is actually material that I was considering removing. If you believe that it still belongs there and we want to keep including that, then I would ask Gail to take the turquoise off of there.
Yes, the reason is, as a young man, I had hunted the area with some of my high school friends, and we were always looking for cascara trees and all kinds of places to hunt pigeon, and then the low forested areas for grouse. So it should stay in there.
Okay.
I mean, that is a practice that's still, I'm sure, being carried on, even though there's a pandemic and no more ammunition.
And Julia, I have pulled some of this data for the Northeast plan, and it didn't break it down by county, but it did break it down by hunting district, and I think we're part of District 1. So I can get you some updated language for that as well.
That would be terrific.
On my page, I have a 2A. I think it's a policy And my question is, how wide should the buffer zone or strip be in riparian zone, I believe it is?
Is that on public and private ownership preserves, public and private land ownership preserves many habitat areas. There is limited regulatory power to assure that more living communities and animal species do not become rare and endangered in the future. Therefore, new development should be designed and constructed so as to, and then you've got A and B was minimize the alteration of land and vegetation. Is that the one you're talking about?
I think he was talking about A.
Yes.
Got it.
2A,
Oh, A.
maintain wherever possible.
Okay. Wherever possible, a natural vegetative buffer strip along the wetlands and streams.
And I just want to know what is that going to be like under the Forest Practices Act, where they have a 100 feet or 50-foot buffer?
Well,
Is there
in
a-
the lands that are, when you have in lands that are being used under the Forest Practices Act, then the Forest Practices Act would control. So if it's timberland, if it's commercial timberland, if it's being used for forest or for commercial forest, or it's being harvested under commercial forest practices, then that's what would apply. If it is under some other use, then we would have a different section of code that would apply, and that is under construction right at the moment. Typically, there's going to be, if it's in the, for example, a shoreland overlay, there's going to be a 50-foot buffer that's actually been in place for decades, which is more or less from the top of the bank. We also have a different language that has to do with a 35-foot buffer from a line of non-aquatic vegetation. It's a really complex kind of section of code that we are trying to simplify. I can't tell you for sure, but I think it's going to probably depend on who owns the property and how the property is being used. So that's that. We don't have a hard number right at the moment, and it's probably going to have to do with how the property is used.
Thank you. I don't mean to take up all the time, but I just got a couple here. Was there any language for removal of old pilings in the Youngs Bay area to make navigation safer for recreational boating and commercial fishing?
There is not.
Yeah,
There is.
you know, historically, I have provided numerous calls to the Oregon State Police, their Fish and Wildlife Division, about finding nets hung up on pilings out there, and those are just deadly when they hang up like that and allowed to gill net indiscriminately. And so that was why I brought that question up, because I guess my notes here, yeah, I'm not the only person who's seen that happen. So I don't know if the county, state working together could alleviate some of those old pilings that are, especially on the Astoria side, is terrible.
Okay, Gail has found an excellent place to put that under critical hazard areas. So we can add some sort of language
I
to
say
improve
that
boater
because
safety.
it's pretty obvious that the immediate future, and probably even further than that, that recreational boating and especially commercial fishing are going to be utilizing that, and to their benefit, to everyone's benefit. Some of those pilings that are sticking way out there need to be removed, like they removed the ones from the old Trestle Bridge Railroad.
Mm-hmm. So I'm looking at, we would probably add some language right in there about that. I'm just trying to think of how to word that.
Yeah, I stuck it there, Julia, because it was the first search that came up with Young's River. I just stuck it there as a reminder. It may not be the best place to put it, but anyway.
Well, I'll slip it in someplace, and then I'm just wondering how else to draw attention to it. But we will put it in. So we'll find the location and refine the language a little bit.
So I don't mean to hog everything, but I got one last one, and that
Okay.
was addressed well in Clatsop Plains and this in Seaside Rural and Jewel Elsie. And that's the that I think this should be included in here. Clatsop, I think it's I took this from Clatsop Plains. Clatsop Chinook or other Aboriginal sites exist in the Lewis and Clark, Olney, Wallooskee rural area. As development occurs, there will be inadvertent discoveries of areas, particularly of particularly around bodies of water where Clatsop Chinook utilize sites for temporary fish or food processing and gathering camps. Information regarding inadvertent discoveries of human remains, cairns, CAIRNS, village sites, and indigenous encampments should be reported to the Chinook Indian Nation and the State Historic Preservation Office.
Okay, and you said that that is language that I can go pull directly out of, you said the Clatsop Plains?
Yeah, I might have added a word or two in there, but just to make it more clear.
Okay. How's the committee with all of this?
I think it's good.
Okay.
I think that would be perfect. Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay, very good.
I'm really sensitive to this because when I was being taught how to bow hunt in the Lewis and Clark, Youngs River area, I came across a cairn, and I swore to my partner, I had my partner swear that he would never tell anybody where this cairn was located. Did some further research, and the cairn marks a place there in Lewis and Clark and Youngs River where a tragedy occurred. And the culture committee doesn't want me to explain the tragedy, but nonetheless, I want to include that because even though the Lewis and Clark, Olney, Wallooskee area has been just totally taken over, there still is that possibility of inadvertent discoveries, and we just don't want to lose them to the bulldozers, development, whatever. It's just not right, religiously and culturally.
Okay, Gail, in her incredible efficiency, has pulled the language, I think, out of the Clatsop Plains, and so I can read it. Clatsop, Chinook, or other archaeological sites exist in the Lewis and Clark Olney Wallooskee area. As development occurs, there will be inadvertent discoveries of areas, particularly around bodies of water, where the Clatsop Chinook utilized sites for temporary fish or food gathering camps. Information regarding inadvertent discoveries of human remains, village sites, and encampments should be reported to the Clatsop, to the Chinook Indian Nation and the State Historic Preservation Office.
You left out cairns, stone pilings, where the
Cairns, right.
stones are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, she's put it in. Human remains,
Oh,
cairns, village sites.
okay.
CAIRNS.
Yeah, I can't see it on my small screen, but I understand.
Yeah, I know. I'm having my own problems here. So if the committee is agreeable, that's the language that Dawn has proposed.
I agree.
Thank you, committee. Thank you very much, committee. CAN thanks you.
Thank you.
And one last question. I can understand why I'm not on part of the Northeast committee, but I would hope that the information that Chinook Nation has shared with Clatsop Plains and Seaside Rural, LC Jewel, and Lewis and Clark, Olney, Wallooskee, can be placed on their foreheads there in Northeast. There's a lot of archaeological places there, Clifton Bradwood and Nat Creek, Upper Big Creek, a lot.
Okay, and that's in the Northeast area, so not the one that this committee is reviewing right at the moment.
No, I just wanted to throw that out there because I won't be discussing any of this with them.
Okay. Well, as it happens, you have Gail Henriksen here, who is the liaison to that group. So I suspect she will have that under control.
Thank you, Gail.
You're welcome, Don.
So committee, what say you?
I say I feel good about what we've done. Anyone else?
It's good to me, and I appreciate Don's input here. A lot of input.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Don.
Thank you, Tiffany and Pat.
Jim, we're probably thanking you too. You just can't hear us.
Yes.
Thank you, Jim.
Is there anything else that we need to do?
Well, Gail is doing things to it now.
I added the language about the ruffed grouse and the ODFW
Oh.
harvest area 1.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
That's all I had to bring to the table tonight.
Well, that was a good amount of stuff. Thank you.
It was.
Well, speak up or forever.
You got a history that I don't have.
Oh, well, I'd be willing to share that with anybody.
Thank you very much. New history I found out tonight. Thank you.
Yeah. So when you go to the fairgrounds and you look up on the hill where the tree line is, those are all brand new trees. What was there was a magnificent cedar forest, and I think there's 3 cedar trees left in the fairgrounds there that are reminiscent of the trees that were once just all over that place. And I have to add that some of our best canoes, our fastest canoes, came from the cedar of that area. Yes. Wallooskee, he hated to see his people go. the story is that many of them went to Indian Place, and the rest of them kind of tried to find a niche upriver towards Portland, and they got kind of absorbed with the communities up there. Some of them hung out in Clifton Bradwood until they perished. But yeah, the Wallooskee Valley was one of the most productive fish and game areas in the whole area. It far outnumbered even Young's River Falls fishery, because that was just a limited fishery. The fish that spawned in there just had, that's all they could do is go to the falls. So it was kind of a short fishery, kind of a fast fishery, in that, you know, they're there, you harvest, and then you wait for the next run. You're there, you harvest, and you're done. Whereas at Wallooskee, the braided loops allowed the fish to stay in their different species groups, their ecological species groups, and they would just like take turns occupying different parts of the braid, and they just became so accessible to our people. It was like having to work your buns off trying to keep up with the fish. Some of the canneries really enjoyed the fish that they got from the last of our people that were there, that they didn't have to travel by canoe or boat to the fish processing areas like Union Fish or CRPA. They just went overland with their wagons and dumped fish fresh, just like that, from the Wallooskee. I'm sorry, I don't mean to. I should stop.
I do have one question that I'm just fascinated about. On this, it's on page 20, and it's the small portion of the Saddle Mountain Trail, which takes off from Highway 26 and passes through Clark, and it says only Wallooskee planning area. Where is that?
Okay, so there's a trailhead on Highway 26, and I probably, I think I did not include a photograph of it, but so basically the trail shoots up through the seaside rural area, and it takes off from Highway 26, it goes north, and it passes through a portion of the Lewis and Clark Olney Wallooskee area, and Olney is spelled wrong because it's spell checked on me. And then it passes farther to the east, and it goes out of that, and it goes into the seaside rural area. So basically, the Saddle Mountain Trail just kind of nicks a corner of the planning area. And without a drawing, without a diagram, it's really hard to explain, but it's about a 5-mile trail, 5 or 6 mile trail. But it's very steep. And so it's popular, and has the walk-in tent sites. Yeah, that's right, which I did not know until I was doing the research for this. But anyway, yeah, it just sort of passes through boundaries.
Okay, I know about the Saddle Mountain Trail, but I didn't know there was one that went from 26.
There's apparently a trailhead off of 26. Yes.
It's really interesting.
What I can do, Tiffany, is, if you like, I think I saved a link to it. I can send you a link tomorrow.
I would love that. Thank you.
Okay, you are welcome. I think that's somewhere in all of my stuff here. Yeah, I was surprised at how steep it was. The elevation change is more than 1,600 feet.
That's a lot.
It is a lot.
That would be a good workout.
Cardio.
Anyone else have any concerns about this or anything to add? Is this our very last meeting as a group?
It is your very last meeting as a group. I hope that you will continue to keep up with us in terms of watching when we put new drafts out and send new I apologize that this version is not pretty. I did not have time to make it pretty. I wanted to do that for you. I wanted to include photographs. I have some. I want to take some others. But I really would love it very much if you guys would kind of keep up with it and continue to provide comment as we go into the public comment period with the Planning Commission and the countywide CAC, and we'll have some public comment in the spring, I think, and then the board will take this up in for adoption, I believe, in July. And I have the date here someplace.
July 13th and 27th.
Yeah, first and second reading. But
Julia?
we'll be in March. It will be at the Planning Commission, a draft of it. So there's I'll refine it with all of the things that you're providing to me tonight, and soon here in another few weeks it will be the pretty version, and I would love your input.
Thank you, Julia. Are those meetings in next year, are they going to be in public or like this Zoom stuff?
I don't know. That's a good question. I can't answer that right now.
Yeah,
But
nobody knows right now, Don. I think if things stay calm and relatively stable and Omicron doesn't take over the world, I think the board wants to start meeting in person again sometime in the early part of the new year, 2022. But there's just way too many variables for us to figure out right now.
Okay, but you'll let us know if well in advance if we have that opportunity to meet in person, eye to eye.
Yeah, if we learn something, we'll let everybody know.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, just keep emails coming at me. Thank you.
I'll keep emailing you all kinds of things.
Not too much now, please.
Not too much, he says. Well, I mean, at least Mr. Nikas no longer apparently puts all of my email in his spam account. But yeah, we'll keep sending you things. I'll send you copies of drafts along the way. It is your last meeting, but and Gail did just note in the chat box to everyone that the dates are tentative at this time, but we're looking at going to the Planning Commission on March 8th, and the board will take a initial review probably at their February 16th work session. So if you are using the county calendar at all, I'll just keep sending you stuff.
Thank you.
And you can tune in or attend. But I am very grateful for everybody's participation.
And I just want to second that. I know that, we meet later in the evening, people work, people get tired, and internet can be a challenge, but thank you very much for your patience and consistency throughout this.
Yeah, truly, this document is much better for everything that you guys have talked to me about, shared with me, provided your comments. This document is much better for your participation. I am really grateful personally.
I don't feel like I've contributed much, but I'm really glad that I was here and that I've got to hear others' perspectives and learn more about what is going on in our county.
I
Well,
want
you
to thank
contributed.
everyone. Sorry, I just want to thank everyone, including you, Gail, and of course Julia, for being so inclusive and listening to our concerns. This is a very difficult time for us, but things are hopefully changing for the better. And will be more established as far as communicating with our neighbors here in our Clatsop land. Hayumasi, hayumasi.
Well, then I have to ask you, are you ready to make any kind of a motion or something to send this on its way to the next level of review?
I am.
Do you need a second?
We would need a motion, and Tiffany is actually chairing the meeting, so we would need a motion from either you or Pat, Jim, if he were able to share with us, but we would need a motion and a second from you gentlemen.
Why don't you go ahead, Pat, and I'll second it.
I'll make a motion to forward this document over to the Clatsop County Commissioners.
I second that motion from Pat.
So Tiffany, do you want to go ahead and call for the vote?
I'm so not the right person to be the
Oh,
vice.
you're much better than you realize.
I'd like to call a vote.
Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Pat, did you say aye?
Yes, I did.
Thank you. Okay, are there any opposed? Okay, so the motion carries. And Jim, I will catch up with you tomorrow and see if there's anything that I missed from your perspective. So it sounds like the ayes have it. Thank you, everyone. Your work is done.
Thank you so much, Julie and Gail. It's very nice to meet you and have been able to work with you.
Thank you, Tiffany and Pat.
Thank you,
Thank
Pat.
all of you very much. Great job.
Oh, and Jim too.
And Jim too, yes. Okay. Well, everybody, I guess we're just about there. Tiffany, I don't see any members of the public to provide any comment.
Any public comment?
No, I don't see anyone. So
Thank you,
I
everyone.
guess you're ready to adjourn.
We are adjourning this meeting. Thank you all who participated.
Thank you so very much. You have no idea how grateful. Thank you.